Welcome to today's episode, and I'm so excited. We have national best-selling author Mike Michalowicz, and he wrote a book called Profit First, and it is so amazing. It literally flips the traditional accounting formula. You know how it's normally sales minus expenses equals profit? He says, his formula is sales minus profit equals expensive. It's simple, but it's so powerful. And today we are asking your questions. You guys have submitted a bunch of questions in, so we are answering your questions live. And we're so excited that Mike Michalowicz is here. So welcome.
Chantel, thanks for having me. I'm excited too.
Yeah. So what I want to do is just dive right into a few questions that people have given me that are super practical, unless you want to give a little bit more of an intro that I gave about the book. Do you want to kind of give people a little bit of more of an intro before we start diving into
Sure. Okay.
questions?
That's a good idea. Yeah. So
Yeah.
what the hidden secret that most people don't recognize about Profit First, it's actually a behavioral system. I studied behavioral psychology for about 20 years, not formally, just an interest in it, and discovered that you could apply behavioral principles. One of the key ones is it's called the primacy effect. What comes first, we prioritize. What comes last, we ignore. So no one would ever say, I had a health scare. Now I'm going to put my health last. You put it first. If you love your family, say, you're going to put my family first. That's why we have to take profit first. It's the only way we'll prioritize it. If it comes last, it gets ignored till the end of the year. When it doesn't happen, we kick the can down the road another year.
That's so good. Okay, this first question comes from Sally, and she says, let's say that you've had an admin on your team for 5 years, and right now you're in a down market and you're not as profitable as you used to be. In my mind, I don't want to let them go because of loyalty, and I don't want to have the challenge of retraining a whole new staff. What would you do in a situation like that?
Well, let's talk about it first logically. You can try to save one person who you can't afford, therefore taking down your business. So everyone's out of a job. So on a logical basis, retaining someone that you can't afford to retain, it doesn't just hurt them, it hurts everybody. So you have to make that decision. On an emotional basis, I think candor wins. I would talk with my assistant and say, listen, it's been 5 banner years and I love working with you. We are down in profitability. So we have to change things in order for us to have a sustainable business. Are there some alternatives? And maybe they can go to a part-time role or some other capacity. But I think we need to be integral in that conversation, because if they can't stay, you're harming them by keeping them on a position that's not going to last long. It is our responsibility to be truthful with them and let them pursue opportunities that will support their life. That's how I would do it.
So good. All right. This next question comes from Steve. And he says, right now, money is getting tight. My business is down, but what my first instinct is to cut marketing expenses. But when I talked to my friend, they said, no, that's crazy because that's what drives in new business. How do
Yeah.
you approach this dilemma? What is the right amount to cut back on marketing? And should I cut back on something else first? What is the percentage of what is the right move to cut back? And when is it too dangerous of a move to cut too much of the marketing expenses because I don't want to lose in new business?
Yeah, that's such a great question. I think the response to a down business, the instinctual response is I need to cut something, and marketing is an obvious, some people almost consider it a superfluous thing, but it does generate, when done right, it generates leads. So I want to give a different perspective. We're experiencing an economic shift. These happen regularly. And what I see most businesses do is what I call a downstream look. So I have a stream of business going through my organization, and I lose a few clients. I look downstream and I look at ways of preserving them. It's like almost a panic response. Please don't leave. What else can we do? Maybe we can do discounts. But we got to realize when there's a shifting economy that some clients that are doing business with you have always been on the fence if they should sustain doing business. And they're using it as a subconscious, perhaps, justification to move on. A portion of them may want to come back or go to an alternative service provider if they weren't satisfied with you. So let's say I lose 10%, but say collectively my business has 100 customers. Well, that's 10 customers. My collective competition, the upstream, maybe has 10,000 prospects. They too will lose their 10%. I'm losing 10, but collectively there's 1,000 entering the market. And a portion of those clients who left their vendors are looking to realign with a new vendor. So instead of looking down, trying to preserve and have my back to opportunity, I realign, I look upstream, and I start marketing to inbound opportunities from clients who are disenchanted with their competitive, to me, provider. What I do is I looked on LinkedIn. Often when there's companies that are merging with other companies, that is such a jostling experience for clients. They enter the market, and I should be marketing to them. I'll use retargeting against my competition, saying not happy with the competition, we're the better choice. I'll look at employees leaving my competition and say, hey, why are you heading out? And maybe there's an opportunity to work with us. And those are all tactics to get information on exactly how to market to that community.
That's good. All right. This next question comes from Donna. And she says, a lot of businesses are pouring money into systems and CRMs and admin processes, but not enough into marketing and sales. Right now, I'm having a hard time figuring out how to determine the right balance between operational efficiency and income generating activity. Right now, I have too many admin, not enough salespeople, but I'm trying to figure out, is there some kind of formula that I can say, okay, spend this percentage on sales, spend this percentage on marketing, and this percentage on admin?
There kind of is. We do what we call a rope analysis, stands for return on payroll or revenue on payroll. And so when I look at an organization that says, say they do $1 million, now this is a rough rule of thumb, but it's very helpful. We want to get a 2 to 3 times rope on our payroll for most service organizations minimally, ideally 4 to 5 times. So let's say I have $1 million organization, but the payroll is 500,000. Well, that's a 2 times rope, 500 times two. That is the lowest end threshold for sustainability. And I'm cautious. You're probably overstaffed. If your rope is even tighter than that, maybe you have $700,000 of payroll to $1 million, that's a business that's going to go nowhere. I want to look for ideally a 4 to 5 times rope. So I'm looking at $1 million business. I want collective payroll to be 200,000, and that's a really optimized business. So that's how we evaluate it. I can't say they should be some admin or they should be tech providers if you're in a tech space or whatever, because it's really contingent upon the type of business you operate. But always look at that rope analysis for sure.
That's so good. All right. This next question comes from Deborah, and it says dual roles, admins doing sales tasks. Right now, when things are leaner, does it make sense or is it realistic to have your admin team doing some more sales related responsibilities? How do you cross train effectively without compromising support or conversion? Right now, I have certain people that are on admin, certain people who are on sales, but right now I need the admin to spend more time in sales, but they don't really want to do those sales
Ah,
positions. Should I just keep continuing to say, I can either bring your hours down on admin or you can take on some more sales responsibilities? Or how do you find and cross train effectively without them being upset?
yeah. I have a secret hack for that, but it's funny. We go to our own team and we do this semi-annually. So every 6 months, we'll sit down with the team and say, hey, if you could do anything here that you wanted to do, regardless of what your current role is, what would you want to do? And if you could abandon one thing that you're doing, what would you abandon? And the first few times you ask, people are very cautious, like, should I really be answering this truthfully? But what we do is we enact change. And there's no question that when someone does something that they're called to do or passionate about or want to do, they can amplify that talent by miles. When something when someone's compelled to do something they don't want to do, they can improve that, but it is a slog and they improve that by inches. So one of the key buzzwords I heard is I have an admin team who doesn't want to sell. They need to be my salespeople. You're taking a horse to water, but now you're trying to force it to drink. So good luck with that. It may not work. Here is the magic trick I've done with our own team who's selling. I said, we're not going to do sales calls at all anymore. What we're going to do is of service calls. And what I want you to do is when we're talking to a prospect, simply find ways to be of service to them. Don't worry about convincing them of anything. Don't try converting anything. All you're going to do is try to be as great of service as possible in the limited time you have with them on a call for about 30 minutes and just learn about them and answer any questions they have. The one additional thing I said at the end um, ask them, do you want our help solving this problem or do you want our help with this? That's the only thing you're going to ask at the end. And that's actually the sales pitch. So they go through this dialogue like, oh, tell me about your business. Oh, here's how I would solve it. Here's what you could do. Consider this. I hope it helps you. And do you want our help with this? And when they say yes, that's when we get the credit card. It's amazingly effective and you don't need to be a salesperson. There's no smoothness to it. It's just natural and real.
I love that. All right, let me ask the next question. This question comes from Steven. When you're first starting out, it's so hard to find that quote, jack of all trades, someone who can handle all the roles. Right now, it's just me, and I need to find one other person that can help, but I need them to basically help with everything.
Yeah.
Unless I decide to hire a 10 hours for this person, 10 hours for this person, and find four different people, or I need to find one person that's the jack of all trade. How do I identify? How do you identify and hire that kind of person when you're on a smaller budget?
Yeah. Great. These are great questions. They're really good because I don't get asked these often. The jack of all trades, they exist, but inevitably they're entrepreneurs because if you can do everything, or at least have the confidence that you can do everything, you're likely going to pursue your own business. So that's why, Stephen, if you're a singlepreneur right now, single person business, you're likely a jack of all trades. And that's why you became an entrepreneur in the first place. So it's very hard to find jack of all trades. It was in that second part of the question where you started to develop the answer that I would suggest. We simply call it fractionalization. There is a massive workforce out there that is not looking for a full-time position. In fact, my own company, we have about 20, a little bit less now, I think 18 individuals that work here. Well, I guess with myself, that's 19. So about 19 folks that work here. And most people are part-time. Now, the full-time equivalents could be, 3 or 4 people. But there is a community out there that wants part-time. Now, here's the magic behind this. I remember we had hired this one person. She works here now for 7 years. Her name's Amy. And she came on board her first day. She was looking for part-time work. And I gave her the task list, if you will, for the last person that was here. That was 8 hours of work. I didn't even think about it. I said, hey, Amy, nail this. And I'll see you tomorrow. And 4 hours later, she left. She said, I got it all done. I'll see you tomorrow. I got back the task list. I'm like, hold on. I just gave her 8 hours of work. She hadn't done in 4 hours. There's this behavioral phenomenon. It's called Parkinson's law. As we compress the available time to work, we actually work more efficiently. So what I found is my part-time workforce can do full-time output because they're recharging their batteries, which we all need, on their own hour, but on my dime, they're getting the work done. So there's this also phenomenon I noticed, and most of our team is like this. They get all the work done in the time allotted to them, which a full-time person would take just as much effort to get the work done, but more time. So fractionalize. And here's how you do it. Look at yourself, split yourself into all the tasks you do. Don't look at yourself as a owner or CEO. Ditch the title. Look at the tasks. I check email. I do scheduling. I do this and that. Write it down. Then circle the ones that you can delegate out to a contractor, a remote worker, virtual help, part-time labor, or something like that. But here is the ultimate tip. Identify the thing you love most to do and delegate that one first. And it's funny because you never hear that. People are like, what don't you like doing? Delegate that. No, delegate what you love. And the reason is it will force you to become a business owner. If we delegate out what we love, it will actually encourage us to delegate out the rest because we don't like it. But then you act as an owner. What most people do is they delegate out the stuff they don't like. And therefore, they actually start building this almost cocoon around what they do like. They preserve it and protect it, and they stay stuck in the business. The number one job of an entrepreneur is not to do the job, is to be a creator of jobs. So abandon the stuff you like so you can do your real job, which is overseeing a company.
So good. All right, this next question is from Miranda, and she says, I'm the CEO and we have about 25 employees now, and we're extremely profitable, but I'm still doing three people's jobs right now. What are the best things that you've delegated as a CEO, and what have you delegated that have been game changers? I really want to stay profitable, so that's why I'm still doing three people's jobs right now, but I've got to change this because it's not sustainable. And
Yeah.
I'm gonna put a plug in because, as you know, I wrote a book called Delegate Everything But Sex. So Miranda, you need to get my book called Delegate Everything But Sex, and it'll give you some good things to delegate. But I want Mike to tell his things of what he has delegated.
And Chantel, you win best book title of all time. It's so
Thank
amazing. Yeah.
you.
And it's the absolute truth. So of course, we're going to delegate, but I think there's a way to do it. First of all, I question if that business is profitable. I know we're saying it is profitable, and I'm sure the numbers show that. But if the owner has three jobs in the real world, if I was an acquirer of that business, that's not a profitable business because I have to account for three additional employees, and it may tip the scales in the other direction. So just working harder and longer does not mean it's a sustainable business. So just be very careful of that. The next thing I would do is, following the prior question, is I look at all the tasks I do and start delegating out the stuff I don't like. I would be very careful about looking for those three replacements of you. It may be 30 part-time individuals. Again, I would start with the thing I like least, so you get in the habit. The thing I like most, to get in the habit of getting rid of things and overseeing those things. And the last thing, one thing we do here at our own office is, I told you about that realignment where we say, what do you want to do? Often a business, especially when it has over 20 employees, I've been investing in a lot of businesses. We just got into a business this morning, and it has about a similar size. It's in glass and window coverings. And what we found is there's often the wrong people or the right people doing the wrong things, or the wrong people doing the right things. But either way, it's this movement of people. And when someone is doing what they're really capable at, the output increases tremendously. So what I would do in this business, if I had 25 folks, I go through a ranking process and say, how are they performing? And this is not a criticism of the person, it's the person matched to the role. And if you have some people that are lower performers, is it really them, or is there a different position they should be in? Sometimes it's by reorganizing who does what in your organization, it actually may avail the opportunity to alleviate that work from you because someone in the organization could take it from you.
Next question is from Susan Lee. And she said, my business has been less and less profitable each month because I used to get so much business from Facebook leads, but it seems like the Facebook leads are getting less and less and getting more and more expensive.
Yeah.
Is there any platform that you're getting business from? And have you noticed the same thing, that the Facebook leads aren't as good as they used to be?
Yeah, so we do get a lot of leads from my platform, but it's not Facebook, it's TikTok for us. But you have to understand, as I don't know what her customer base is or what ours is. So here's what I suggest she does, is you go to your best established customers and you find out where their congregation points are. So I go to my best customer and say, where do you absorb social media? Where do you hang out with people like you? Where do you learn? There's that saying, birds of a feather flock together, because people like them. And so often, if you're serving an industry or a demographic, that industry will have meetings and conferences and podcasts dedicated to them, or it's a demographic, similar things. There's gathering points, there's podcasts they listen to, there's communities online they connect at. So make sure you're still in the right community. Things do move. Facebook has shifted in the demographic that it serves over the years. So for me, it's TikTok. We have not seen a decline. If anything, it's been neutral or up even. But the form of advertising is shifting. So we're very attuned to how people resonate with things. And it's not the ads that people land with, it's a genuine influencer, micro influencer, not the big ones, but the micro influencers speaking authentically about the work we do. And that brings in a lot of opportunity. We don't have to pay them for it. We just, we connect with a lot of these micro influencers and see how we can go out of our way to support them, of service calls, as I shared earlier. And the nature is reciprocity in some cases. And people talk about us, and that's been a great source of opportunity for us.
All right. Last question. This one is from Jila Marie. I need a digital marketing person. And right now I have a full-time person, and it seems like that is too high for my budget and is really taking a toll on my profit. What would you suggest? Do you think I should outsource it to a digital marketing company, or would you just hire someone else at a cheaper rate? Right now, I've tried several outsourcing digital marketing companies and it hasn't worked well, but having a full-time person in-house is just too expensive and eating into my profit.
Yeah. So what I start off with is the baseline of what we want. I mean, as word as baseline is wrong. It's the goal. what do we want the output to be? Is there a way we can define the quality of the output, and the frequency and the volume? First, spec
Mhm.
that out. Then we go through a testing process. So yeah, consultants, perhaps, part-time, perhaps. It's funny. This is a little bit off, but we needed an attorney, and attorneys are so expensive. So I said, here's what we need. As our contract negotiations, we need these contracts written, and we need them turned around pretty quickly, and we need a pretty high level quality. But paying these Manhattan law firms like $500 or $600 an hour is not in the budget. How do we do it? Well, by setting the goal, we started brainstorming, and what we found is these exact same lawyers, also some of them were professors at New York University and other universities. We reached out to them in that capacity when they were professors and saying, hey, would you want to do a real life case study with your students? We want these contracts reviewed, and your students will give them acknowledgments and credit. They can put on their resume that they did some contract preparation for our organization as they go out and seek a job. So the students worked on it as a case study. The professor oversaw it and ensured there was legal accuracy. We got what we wanted. It cost us nothing. The turnaround was quick, and everyone got raised up. Even the students had something for their resume.
It's one of the best things I've ever done for my business is called bizboxfunnels.com. And it's automation that frees you to focus on growth. So at one point in my business, I had 6 full-time web developers on staff. Now I have everything I need in one place. I have a CRM, lead pipelines, all my email, my SMS campaigns for text messaging, all my automations, calendars. You can get rid of all these different things. MailChimp, bye-bye. Calendly, bye-bye. All the text messaging apps that you need, bye-bye. It's all one system, and you can triple your speed to lead. You're never going to miss an opportunity. Let your calendar fill itself, and you're going to turn calls into clients. So it's one of the best things I've ever done. I've saved so much money. Literally, $1,400 a month is a minimum that you're going to spend, because you're going to get rid of all these different apps that you have, all these different programs. And I know at one point we were using WP Engine, and you have to have all these plugins, and this plugin doesn't work with this plugin. This system doesn't talk with this one. It's a living nightmare. If you're not a tech guru and you don't want a bunch of headaches and you want to hit the easy button, bizboxfunnels.com. So good. All right. We have a live question that someone would like to ask you, and I'm going to add him now. His name is Shane Roddy. So Shane, welcome, and go ahead and unmute and ask your question.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Chantel. Hi, Mike. How you doing?
Hey, Shane. It's
Your
going well.
your books have been truly, they've reshaped how we do manage cash and scale with confidence. So I'm a huge
Amazing.
fan.
Thank you, brother.
And my primary company is a managed IT service. So I
Oh,
know
rock
you
and
know that
roll.
firsthand, the dynamics of that space. So my main question here is we sold a portion of my company, which drove the valuation perfectly. But we're going to be entering into a merger, and I'm curious if you look back in your exit strategy, any specific actions you took or you wish you had taken to drive, the buyer appeal and maybe a higher multiplier, especially like
Mm.
in the service-based industry.
Yeah, I've had a few exits, and now we're investing in companies that we're helping have exits. I'll tell you what I found drives valuations. One is proven profitability. Sounds like you're already on it. I encourage you to push that as hard as possible. But proven profitability is different than what they call recasts. Recasts is where I give you my numbers and say, if this scenario played out and I didn't work here and this didn't happen, look at all the money you'd have. But everyone knows it's phantom numbers. Nothing can compete with bank statements. And if I can flop down month after month of growing cash equity, that is a massive, massive determination of valuation because you've proven profitability. The second component is contracts. The fact you're an MSP, the longer term contracts you have, that's guaranteed or as close to guaranteed revenue as possible. That increases your valuation. Key person, or they used to call key man retention, which is sexist. It's key person retention is what should be called. But identify who your key people are, and put strategies in place now for them to stay for the long term. Now, you may not be able to say that you're selling your business, so you got to be very cautious around this, but you can say, we want our business to be successful in the long term. What can we do? You can apply effectively the golden handcuffs through some kind of cash deals. Even if you don't have stock to give them in your business for when it sells, one thing we did here is we used insurance policies saying, we're going to set up an insurance policy for you so your family's protected in the event of the unthinkable, but also it's going to have a cash value as it moves along. And after a certain number of years, I think 5 or 10 years, that cash value comes to you. It was using VULs or whole life policies. So key person retention, contracts with your clients, and proven profitability. Those three things are a massive amplifier. Collectively, it's an exponential amplifier of your valuations.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So good. Thank you. I did get another question in the chat, and I'm going to ask it for them. They said, I love your book. It's been amazing. And your ideas are simple but powerful. And one of my favorite things that you said was, instead of waiting until the end of the month to see what's left for profit, you intentionally allocate profit from the start. And you can use separate bank accounts, almost like envelopes for money. So like one for profit, one for owner's pay, one for taxes, and one for operating expenses. The only thing about that is my accountant is charging me so much to do all 4 different items. So I'm not going to read the whole thing.
Yeah,
you put too much, but basically what she's saying is like, it's tripling the cost or quadrupling by her doing these 4 accounts. The accounting firm charges every time they reconcile an account. She has to pay for each one of the accounts. So she's saying, like, she likes the idea of saying, okay, here's profit, here's owner's pay, any kind of hacks to basically make it where can you still do it and put it into all one account in an easier way so she can reduce cost on accounting?
Yes, no, you can't do that. You can't put into one account because it breaks the behavioral pattern. When money's glommed together, we can overutilize that money for one intention, not appreciating what the other one is. By having separate accounts, you can only maximize what the use of the funds in that account. It won't pull from the other accounts because they're broken apart. I'm very surprised the accountant's charging more for reconciliation. So this is a little bit hard-nosed, but I've never or very infrequently heard something like this. I would ask that accountant, how many more reconciliations do you do? Multiple accounts doesn't result in many more reconciliations because all we're doing is transferring funds to an account. So you may have, if there's 4 or 5 accounts, 4 or 5 extra fund transfers per month or per quarter or per week, but that's about it. Reconciling that takes seconds, particularly with AI. It's automated in QuickBooks if that's what they're using. I would ask them, it almost sounds like they're following an old protocol where it used to be hairy, but they shouldn't be incurring any more costs. So I'd be very suspect of that.
And even with QuickBooks, can they put all of those accounts under, even though it's 4 separate bank accounts, they could put that under one QuickBooks account?
Oh yeah. It's one QuickBooks, the login account, but they're called GLs or general ledger accounts. They're listed there independently. Most businesses by default before Profit First will have 3 or 4 accounts. They'll have savings, they'll have a payroll account and so forth. These are additional accounts, but the workload actually, in most cases, is faster because the money, when it's transferred to account, it's intended use. The big burden, particularly in the bookkeeping end, is when money is used and the bookkeeper doesn't know what to attribute it to. Was this a sales expense or was this a meals expense? What is this? But since the accounts pre-allocates intended use, that stuff is much clearer. So it's kind of a unique situation. Usually it's actually more efficient, not massively, but more efficient using Profit First. So I'm a little surprised that they're charging more. I would ask them how they justify that. Not trying to be difficult with them, but I'd ask them because it doesn't
Time for a new accountant.
or find a new accountant for sure. Yeah, we have Profit First professionals who are ready to serve you, but I'd first ask them.
Okay. So give me 2 other tips that you share in your book for those who are listening that haven't read it yet, to get them excited, that you think is one of the best parts of your book, to get them excited to read it, that you share in your book, Profit First.
You got it. I'll do it in 30 seconds. I know you got to go and I got to go.
Yes.
Here's tip 1. The person that wants you to be profitable more than you is actually your client. Now, your client will never say it, but your client will say, I want your full undivided attention. I want to be cared for like I'm your number 1 customer. And if you have financial worry, you can't do that. So realize your customers are starving for you to be profitable. I think that's tip number 1. Tip number 2 is Where you have worry is where you need an account. If you are wondering, can we afford to buy a new piece of equipment or whatever the worry is, set up an account specifically for that, allocate money, and you'll have cash clarity because the account will tell you how much money is available for that concern.
Oh my gosh, this is so good. Well, thank you so much for being with us today. I love your work. I agree with everything you say. Every time you talk or I hear a podcast or anything you do, I'm like, yes, go
You
Mike,
rock.
go Mike. So I love everything you're doing. Thanks for taking entrepreneurs to the next level. And you guys stay tuned. We've got another episode coming up in just a few. Bye-bye for now.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, leave a rating and a review so we can get this out to more agents. And tune in next week for another power-packed episode. This is the Millionaire Real Estate Podcast.